If you're a parent, you know that moment. Your child suddenly covers their ears in a noisy restaurant, melts down at the grocery store, or becomes overwhelmed by the tags in their clothing. While some might dismiss these as behavioral issues or suggest your child will grow out of it, what if these reactions are actually signs of something deeper happening in your child's nervous system? What if understanding the neurological basis of overstimulation could unlock the answers you've been searching for and finally provide real, lasting solutions for your child's sensory challenges? This video is for parents whose children struggle with sensory overload and overstimulation, whether diagnosed with conditions like autism, ADHD, sensory processing disorder, or simply are showing signs of being easily overwhelmed by their environment. We're going to explore overstimulation from a neurological perspective. We're going to reveal how the perfect storm of factors can impact your child's nervous system development and sensory processing. And most importantly, you'll discover how neurologically focused chiropractic care can address the root cause of these challenges and not just manage symptoms. The CDC has said that up to 40% of school-aged children today suffer from at least one chronic health condition, which with sensory processing issues being increasingly common. Traditional approaches often focus on avoiding triggers or managing symptoms, but these solutions miss the underlying neurological imbalances that create sensory overload. The medical system tends to view these challenges through separate diagnostic lenses, autism, ADHD, anxiety, when they're often connected by one common thread: nervous system dysregulation. So let's jump into understanding overstimulation from this neurological perspective. Overstimulation occurs when the brain receives more sensory input than it can effectively process. Think of it like a traffic jam in the nervous system. There's too many signals trying to get through at once. Not only are there too many signals, but those signals are often heightened or louder, especially in a fight or flight state, due to how adrenaline increases sensory perception. Compound this with a child who is already living in sensory overwhelm for some time, and you get a constant spiral of sensory challenges. And this isn't just about behavior, it's about how your child's brain and nervous system are functioning. How is it perceiving stress, its environment, sensations, and then how is it responding to them? How does this all work? We're going to talk about the nervous system. What is the role of the autonomic nervous system? It's that automatic side of the nervous system, and how is that connected with sensory processing? There are two key branches or modes to the autonomic nervous system. We have our sympathetic fight or flight side and the parasympathetic rest and digest side. When a child experiences stress, their nervous system perceives that stress and responds to it. And sometimes that response, that adaptation, can get stuck on a child's system, especially when they're experiencing the perfect storm of stress, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But when that system gets stuck, it gets tense, it gets disconnected, something we call the catch-all term subluxation, it can cause a child's nervous system to get stuck in sympathetic dominance, which is essentially a sustained stress response. This creates a cascade of effects. Kids have difficulty sleeping, they have digestive issues, emotional dysregulation, because this system is experiencing literal stress mode more days than not. So it doesn't feel safe to get deep restorative sleep. It doesn't care about digesting breakfast, keeping it in, or digesting it, or assimilating it, or absorbing it, because it's perceiving there's more important things to address. And who cares about emotional regulation when there's a bear or a spider? Or at least that's how the nervous system is responding, right? It's responding to stress in stress mode. But the problem is that it's staying there. So where does all of this start? How does a child become the kid who's in go, go, go mode, hypersensitive to sounds, textures, tastes, what have you, all the time? When we care for a child with sensory challenges, what we tend to find is a perfect storm of factors contributing to the overstimulation and sensory challenges. We go all the way back into their story and observe where stress first impacted their developing nervous system. And that can start in utero. Prenatal stress can in fact impact fetal brain development and sensory processing. The baby on the inside is wiring their nervous system for life on the outside and is doing so through mom's lens. So if mom is experiencing a significant amount of stress, baby is perceiving that same stress to some extent and is wiring their system to be able to handle that stress. And that's where it can start. A nervous system that is wired for stress has less of a threshold to jump into stress mode. They don't need as much stress input to get stress response. And when you have that foundation brewing on the inside, throw in physical stress from the transition from inside the womb to outside. Even without, but especially with birth interventions like C-sections, forceps, and vacuum extractions, significant amounts of physical stress can be placed on the nervous system in these vulnerable moments. So now that's stress stacked up on an already stressed out nervous system. And it doesn't stop there. Now the baby is having to learn what life looks like living on the outside, and so the functions of eating, sleeping, pooping, and moving become super important for further growth and development. And unfortunately, these functions become more of a challenge when the nervous system is stuck in protection mode. And not only does this affect the daily functions of life, early childhood stressors and environmental factors further impact how the nervous system continues to develop. So now that we can start to understand where it all starts, what does it look like practically speaking? What are the signs your child is overstimulated? And this can look different for each child, but from a physical standpoint, symptoms can look something like a headache. Mom, my head hurts. Nausea, fatigue. As a parent, you can typically see this as they're keeping their shoulders shrugged or tense, and they might be walking on their toes. They could be clenching their jaw or teeth grinding a bit, and they just can't sit still because they're overstimulated. Physically, their nervous system is overstimulated. Some of the emotional signs can appear as anxiety, irritability, and emotional outbursts. And from a behavioral standpoint, it can show up as difficulty focusing, meltdowns, seeking quiet spaces, and avoiding stress and sensory input as much as possible because their brain is already getting too much. Now, as neurologically focused chiropractor, we can help with this. We want to go back all the way back to the beginning and say, okay, if the nervous system is overwhelmed with sensory input from all of that information, where do we start? First, we need to identify areas of the nervous system that is having that dysfunction. Often when there's stress early on, it can be in the upper neck, it can be in the shoulders, because those are the areas that are more impacted from delivery and birth stress. But wherever they are, once we find them, what's important next is developing a care plan that is unique for that child, that allows us to get in there and provide precise, gentle adjustments to help release the stuck sympathetic stress, which will then help that child turn off the sympathetics and activate the parasympathetic nervous system for better regulation. So what this is really all about is getting to the root cause of brain input rather than just managing symptoms of an overstimulated nervous system. So if you're a parent and you're tired of watching your child struggle with sensory overload and ready to address the root cause of their challenges, it's time to explore neurologically focused chiropractic care. Here at Reissing Health, we use state-of-the-art scanning technology to identify exactly where your child's nervous system needs support. We create customized care plans that target to their specific needs. The first step towards real lasting change is to measure how your child's nervous system is regulating and adapting, and this can be done with a neurologically focused insight scan at our office. This scan is non-invasive and gentle, and it can be done with your child sitting right next to you or in your lap. Then we can see how their sensory system is adapting to the world and around them, how and where it is stressed, and most importantly, how can we help calm it. If this sounds like something that can help, visit the link in our bio or comment below to learn more. We really want to help your child experience the world without being overwhelmed by it. There's a lot to be stressed out from on the outside in this stressful world. We want your child to be able to regulate from the inside out so that they're better able to show up in life, grow and develop in the best possible way, and live a life to their highest potential. That's all for this one. Be blessed and have a wonderful day.